78 trucks have reportedly entered Gaza through Rafah crossing after the United Nations Security Council vetoed to approve a resolution that demands to allow more aid deliveries to Gaza. In the latest, Hezbollah has released a video showing it targeting of the Shumira barracks and the Al-Abad site belonging to the Israeli army. Israeli military said that it is preparing to widen the operation in Gaza with an emphasis on the southern area. Over in the north, the IDF says it is gradually completing the goals. IDF says it struck Hamas headquarters and eliminated militants in southern Gaza city in the last 24 hours. It also claims to have located a number of shafts leading to a significant underground tunnel route with the help of its K9 unit. The Netherlands will deliver 18 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine to help its battle against Russia's invasion and air superiority. The Dutch defense minister has sent a letter to Parliament outlining the plan to donate the sophisticated jets that were first unveiled in the summer. As per the Dutch caretaker, Prime Minister Mark Rutte, and I'm quoting here, the delivery of F-16s is one of the most important elements of the agreements made on military support for Ukraine. The officials have not yet said when will these jets be delivered. However, the government has said that the move allows personnel and budget to be allocated to prepare the devices to be sent to Ukraine. Now, the F-16s have been on Ukraine's wish list for a long time because of their destructive power and global availability. Former US President Donald Trump is making headlines again. On Friday, US top court has denied to expedite the case regarding the former president's immunity against his efforts to overturn the 2020 polls. The request for expediting the case was first flagged by the US Special Counsel, Jack Smith. The Supreme Court's decision is a blow to the Special Counsel, who wanted the trials to take place before the 2024 polls swing into full clear. Now, contrary to that, Trump's attorney has urged the courts to delay the trials until the 2024 presidential elections are over. In fact, earlier this week, a Colorado court ruled that Trump's interference in the 2020 presidential elections, including the Capitol riots, disqualified him from running for the 2024 presidential elections. Turkey has launched a major crackdown against the Islamic State. Turkish security forces have detained 304 people suspected to have links with the terrorist groups. Security forces conducted simultaneous raids across the country under the operation codenamed Heroes 34. Now, it was conducted jointly by the police intelligence and counter-terrorism squads. Suspects have been detained in 32 out of Turkey's 81 provinces. Majority or arrests have been made in three largest cities of Istanbul, Ankara and Izmir. No information has been provided about the suspects' nationalities. French authorities are questioning two men who were held after a flight bound for Nicaragua was grounded over suspected charges of human trafficking on Thursday. The flight was carrying over 300 Indian origin passengers who are believed to be victims of human trafficking. The Indian embassy in France reacted to this situation. saying they have been informed by the French authorities. The Indian embassy reached the site and have also obtained consular access. New Delhi says it is investigating the situation while ensuring the well-being of passengers. Paris Public Prosecutor's Office said the flight was grounded after anonymous tip-off. The plane had taken off from the United Arab Emirates. A Hindu temple has been defaced with a pro-Khalistani slogans in the United States. The incident took place at Swami Narayan Mandir, Vasana Sanstha in California's Newark City. The pictures of the graffiti painted on the exterior wall of the temple were shared by the Hindu American Foundation. The images show hateful slogans against India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The graffiti also mentioned slain Khalistani terrorist Jarnail Singh Bhinderwal, his name, and the Hindus American Foundation has noted that the mention of Bhinderwale, who targeted Hindus, is specifically meant to traumatize worshippers and create a fear of violence. The Indian consulate in San Francisco has also condemned the incident and has said it has hurt the sentiments of the Indian community. The Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar reacted on the indictment of the Indian national for allegedly being involved in a murder plot of Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Jaishankar said that the Indian national, whose name is Nikhil Gupta, has been provided consular access 3 times. Nikhil is currently in Czech custody under a bilateral extradition treaty for the United States. Marking an end to more than a decade-old French operations in West Africa's Sahel region, France has withdrawn its last troops in Niger. France's move comes after military junta that seized power in Niger made France's military exit as one of its key demands, echoing the sentiments of juntas in neighboring Burkina Faso and Mali. Now, this is the 3rd time in less than 18 months that the French troops have withdrawn from Sahel. This region, which has been a center stage for power tussle, has witnessed 3 coups in 3 countries, all in the span of 3 years. France was forced to end its operations in colonies like Mali last year and Burkina Faso this year after military takeovers in these nations. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas will be traveling to Mexico to discuss the border crisis with the country's president. According to the White House officials, the officials will work to find a better way to address an unprecedented amount of migrants currently at the border. The planned trip comes after President Joe Biden spoke with Mexican President on Thursday. Now, both leaders agreed that more measures are urgently needed to better contain a surge in illegal migration. According to the White House officials, Mexico and the United States will decide what additional enforcement actions can be taken immediately. US President Joe Biden has signed into Law Defense Policy Bill 2024. It authorizes a record $886 billion in annual military spending and policies such as aid for Ukraine. The bill also strengthens the US posture in the Indo-Pacific region to deter Chinese actions. The bill is one of the few major pieces of legislation Congress passes every year. It governs everything from pay raises for service members and purchases of ships and aircraft. It also governs policies such as support for foreign partners like Taiwan. The Act, which is nearly 3,000 pages long, has called for a 5.2% pay raise for service members. To break it down, it is the largest raise for service members in more than 2 decades. It has also listed certain Chinese battery companies that it says are ineligible for Defense Department procurement. Workers protested in several areas of Buenos Aires against President Javier Milei's economic measures. Protesters vowed to hold a national strike and mobilization next week. The protesters were faced by a strong presence of riot police following a new protocol by the country's security ministry that prohibits blocking or marching on streets. Earlier, President Milei announced a new package of measures to deregulate the country's economy. This move promotes exports and investment and opens the door to privatizing public companies to straighten the crisis. After severe flooding due to incessant rains in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, water has begun to recede into rivers. But waterlogging in residential areas continues to persist. Over 150,000 acres of farmlands, including horticulture crops, have been destroyed in several districts across the state. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said at least 31 people died in the flooding, an accident related to the rain, and over 40,000 were rescued. A Pacific storm hit coastal areas northwest of Los Angeles and pushed through San Diego to the deserts. The brunt of the storm reached San Diego after slowly moving down the California coast during the week. A large swathe of Southern California will remain under flood, and this will be under the flood watch, in fact, before drying out for the holiday weekend. Video from Riverside County showed cars and trucks driving through several inches of flood water. Rain has also arrived in southwest Arizona. Forecasters there say the center of the low-pressure system will move from southwest of San Diego to near Yuma by evening. Rising sea levels have threatened Nigeria's coastal communities, forcing more than 80% of the population in southwestern town of Ayatoro to flee their homes. Since people began to reside in Ayatoro in the 1940s, the town has become home to more than 30,000 people. However, the town, which was initially several kilometers away from the sea, has been gradually invaded by seawater over the past 2 decades. In April of 2023, hundreds of houses were inundated amid an intense wave of water. Locals said that in recent years, seawater invasion has become increasingly common, causing widespread property loss. The once prosperous town is currently left with about 5,000 residents who are concerned about rising sea levels. Iceland's active volcano continued to spew more lava as engineers worked to divert the flow away from a power plant. The Icelandic Meteorological Office estimates that hundreds of cubic meters of lava per second escaped the volcano in the first 2 hours of the eruption. The eruption is now reduced from 400 cubic meters per second to only 10 cubic meters per second. A protection barrier was erected to divert lava away from power plants. The Spring Festival has been officially listed as a United Nations floating holiday in the UN calendar of conferences and meetings starting from 2024. Now, a floating holiday is the one that UN staff members are given in the option of observing in the interest of respecting their diversity. As a traditional Chinese festival, the Spring Festival represents a time of family reunion and a start of the new year. According to officials, it also embodies Chinese civilization concepts and peace and harmony, peaceful coexistence between man and nature. Now, the Spring Festival is a legal holiday in many countries and regions, celebrated by about 1/5 of the world's population in various forms. Member states and staff members of the Secretariat have all welcomed this decision. The Indian government has strongly refuted the International Monetary Fund's claim that India is vulnerable to rising debt. It said that the IMF has made certain presumptions which do not reflect the factual position. The government said that a majority of the government debt is expressed in Indian rupees. It added that external borrowings make up only a small portion and they are likely to threaten India's stability. The government downplayed the IMF's projection that India's government debt could be 100% of the GDP by 2028, calling the scenario an extreme possibility and not a quote-unquote fait accompli. It added that the country has managed its debt pretty well, despite COVID-19 and the Ukraine war. Nike's stock tumbled on Friday after the shoe manufacturer announced cost and job cuts. Nike's more cautious consumer behavior comments weighed on competitor brands and sportswear stores. Nike's plans are in reaction to weaker sales. Now, amidst a worse sales forecast in China and globally, Nike said it is seeking to save up to $2 billion in costs. The cost cut plans include layoffs and streamlining of its product range. Nike CFO said the new outlook reflects indications of more cautious consumer behavior around the world. Investor concerns about China are a key focus for the sportswear company amid fears of a pullback in consumer spending there. Shares in China's biggest gaming companies plunged in Hong Kong after Beijing issued draft regulations aimed at curbing players' spending on gaming apps. Remember, China has been cracking down on the country's gaming apps and its companies as it cites addiction among children and adults. Tencent Holdings, which has an array of games like PUBG under its portfolio, lost $46 billion from its market cap after this announcement. All online games will now be required to set limits on users recharging their accounts and send pop-up alerts to warn and remind the users of irrational spending. Online gaming providers would also be barred from offering inducements such as daily login rewards, first-time recharge rewards, and consecutive recharge rewards.